Good afternoon, members. This House is now in session. Member for St. Michael East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair. I would also like to ask for the inclusion of the amendment not only to the Returnable Containers Act, bill rather, but also to include order number 13 as well, so that we can speak collectively with order 99, and so this will be considered a cognate debate.
So you're proposing to do two bills at one time?
At one time.
So order number 10 and order number what? Order number 10?
No, and
10 and what? 9 and 13.
I thought you said 99.
The question is that order number 9 and 13
Yeah.
be taken as a cognitive debate. All members in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Okay, member, proceed.
Pardon me, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I didn't sit at the time when you were speaking, but it's because I'm not one of the best followers of parliamentary procedure. Not deliberately.
No, it's okay. You
So
proceed. We're here to guide you.
And I don't want you to believe that I'm disrespecting you in the chair, but I have respect for you regardless. Sir, this bill has the Returnable Containers Bill. This amendment to the old Act obviously has a history, and in order for us to make provisions for this new amendment, I believe that I should explain the rationale for the decision that's being made today. Sir, the Returnable Containers Act provides for the control of the sale of beverages in the beverage containers, the payment of a deposit on beverage containers, a refund for the return of those containers, and the final disposal of unused and usable containers. Sir, you all know, everyone knows that there is lots of discussions, not only at the parochial level, but at the universal level on matters related to the environment. Both of these two bills touch on the central point of addressing environmental issues. This debate goes back, especially the life of this dispensation, to 2007. But in more recent times, matters related to environment has taken center stage even over classical economic issues and over legal issues. Almost every subject matter the social, the economic, and the political implications of the environment is very much part and parcel of what we now call the development of a green economy. And in addition to environmental issues, these things have great impact on matters related to health. But they obviously, we find it most offensive at the level of the environment first, before it then finds its way into a major issue for the Ministry of Health. And that's why in recent times you would have heard about the debate emerging based on the manner in which we dispose of waste. From as far back as 2007, the then Act, which emerged, proved to be a very important instrument in the removal of some recyclables from the waste stream as a monetary value. And it was attached to these containers, what we call plastic containers of various size, thereby resulting in the disappearance of certain beverages containers familiar to seen across the island. The RCA also led to the growth of an industry, which the majority of bodies are concentrated in mangrove, in that area, where the government facilitate the development of these bodies. Although the expansion of the RCAs has not yet occurred, there have been some removal of plastic, metals. And you know that we move white metal, we move derelict vehicles, paper, cardboard, and glass through the efforts of local waste brokers. And we are facing some challenges at this time as well, because in many cases, in order for these companies and these industries to survive, they have to depend on an external market. Not so much what they can recycle here, but on an external market. It is hoped that by formalizing the amendment to the Act, that there would be an even greater amount of separation of recyclables from the waste stream. If we can reduce that, we will be able to reduce the amount to waste that has to be collected and waste that must be transported, and in the limited trucks which we have. And I will soon have even greater news for you in relation. We have at present 2 more new trucks, and by this time next week you will have 10 more new trucks, and early in the new year 10 more new trucks. So we are on our way. So, but we could not expect the impossible.
In total, you're having how many trucks in all in the next 3 months?
22.
22 trucks. All right, 22.
But we will go up to 29.
Okay.
Because we are already in possession of 7 trucks.
Right.
Sir. So we'll go up to 29. But we'll have additional equipment to complement the trucks as well. And that would at least ensure the sustainability of the labor force which we have, and probably a few more people might be able to get into the labor force. So we have applied all the methodologies of efficiency, but you will now see the effectiveness of the efficiency.
Right.
Because one can appear to do all that they can, but if you don't have the resources, don't care how efficient you appear to be, you cannot be effective. So as a result, we should be on our way. So we therefore should be expanding the life of we would also, as a result of this amendment, we would be able to expand the life of the landfill at Mangrove as well. Because the recycling of these returnables, and I'm not even talking about refining in terms of turning the materials into particles, but with the reusing of the containers, and also being compensated for the use of the containers, be a reuse of the containers as well. So you return bottles, and the bottles can be reused again. And in some cases, some of the recycling companies, it depends on where the economies of scale is most favorable to the industries. Those people might be able to use them, and if they find external markets for the recycling purposes, that's where they put the plastic through the machines and so on, and reduce the plastics into small, I call them particles, and probably Minister Simmons might be able to enlighten me of a word which is most appropriate. The action of the players in the recycling industry result in the waste brokers handling as much as 400 tons of material per day that is diverted at source. The cabinet of a meeting as far back as 2007 agreed to a number of recommendations and aim at developing a viable extended recycling program for Barbados to complement the other components of the integrated solid waste management program and significantly contribute to the reduction of waste sent to the landfill. And you know, in the interim periods since 2007, this government came to office in 2008, in 2018, and we had to rescue the country from the state that it was in. The SSA is no different to almost every other institution in this state. On coming to office, we had to deal with issues related to Barbados Water Authority and the sewage on the South Coast. We had to deal with problems in relation to the Ministry of Health. We had to deal with problems in relation to MTW. We had to deal with problems in relation to the Transport Board. So we had multiple problems to deal with at the specific time. But that is when you have a government that is functioning in a very positive way and you break the trajectory of good government and even good governance, then you find yourself in that interim period of the transition trying to correct many wrongs. And this is another effort to correct wrongs in relation to how do we treat to waste. There have been lots of public debate in the treating to waste in relation to how can we take waste, which might be perceived in a negative light, and transform that waste into an energy source. So while people were condemning it, we had to come up with refined modern thoughts with whatever little we had or we have at present available to us on what best we can do with the waste which we have across Barbados. And on more than one occasion, we had to focus our attention on can we use the waste in anywhere to help reduce the cost of energy in relation to our cement plant? Can we use waste in the form of tires to see if we can integrate it into the asphalt in the road works of Barbados? So many different ideas. The fusion and the synthesis that derive from the various debates are some of the ideological guidelines that are responsible for the manner in which we will go forward. This bill, sir, or these two bills, and I will speak specifically on the Returnable Container Act. These two bills and the Returnable Containers Act would be, while it might appear to be a simple change of a word within the bill, hoping that we can alter the legislation, sir, it has fundamental gains for the public of Barbados, because there are a number of items on the schedule that would allow persons who return the containers back to the suppliers, the retailer or the supplier, or the wholesaler, and that they'll be rewarded for it. If wholesalers or retailers believe that as a consequence of having to give people compensation for the return of the containers, and they believe that it will cause them to push the price up by 25 cents or 50 cents, the market forces will determine if it is a comprehensive and sensible thing to do in terms of resisting increasing costs in order to ensure that there's no loss if they have to pay back for the containers. But when you return the container, you get back a few cents or a few dollars on the containers. So it's on the basis of that, those progressive thoughts, that we've been able to bring this bill before Parliament today, and we hope that this would have multiple advantages in relation not only to those who return the containers, but in a major reduction. In the last few hours, as I spoke to a number of workers within the sanitation system, they told me that sometimes the waste is bulky, that they take up on mornings or at night, but most of the time, the appearance can be reduced by 50% easily, because most of the waste inside there that cause it to look in that manner is because we have a lot of plastic containers in it, and then it goes on to the landfill. We are making a determined effort to address issues that are not degradable, are not biodegradable, and you would probably hear a little more about that when we address the issues in relation to the amendment that relate to the plastic bags. And I'm sure that the Honourable Minister will also inform the House and the people of Barbados why, and I believe in these transitions, we must always have some humane ideology that influence decisions. So from time to time, we might make a decision, but all the partners that are very much engaged in the manner in which the supply and the demand for these specific products are affected. The government is a humane government. The government is a government of vision. The minister is a young, wise man, and he will make the required adjustments necessary in order to make sure that all Barbadians, businessmen, workers, working class people, the wealthy, the not so wealthy, all types of people, we make adjustments in order to accommodate based on the feedback that we get from the general public of Barbados. So I want to recommend this amendment to the House, the amendment of the Returnable Containers Act, Chapter 395A, and to make provisions for these containers and a refund for those containers and other reusable and recyclable items. Thank you.
So you want to move that this bill be read second time? Move. move that bill be read a second time.
I move that this be read the second time.
Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I too move to support the two bills that are before the House, and of course to support the Honourable Member for St. Michael East in his presentation as well. Sir, we have a plan as a government, and for us, sir, at the end of the day, it's going to be about the sustainable management, one way or the other, of our waste. It's about sustainable waste, innovation, and management. And that would require, sir, that all of us approach, in our various ministries, all of us approach this with the idea, sir, that it has to be sustainable. I came in this honorable place, sir, a few months ago, and we passed a bill, the Control of Disposable Plastics Bill, then Act, sir, that would have banned the retail use, supply, manufacture of plastic bags in Barbados from January 1st, 2020. In fact, sir, that bill, sir, when we debated it, it also served to ban on July 1st certain containers that were made, sir, from a petroleum base. Those were the things that we banned, sir, and I just wish to offer some explanation before I get into the details of what is actually happening here. In that bill, sir, we spoke then to containers, whether it be cups, we spoke to plates, straws, stirrers. Those were the things, sir, that were to be banned originally on April 1st. Having spoken to the importers, we gave an extension of 3 months to allow them to get rid of their old stock after consultation with the importers. But in that act, it would have meant, sir, that plastic bags, because plastic bags were never banned in Barbados, plastic bags were to be banned on January 1st, 2020, petroleum-based plastic bags. But having met, sir, over the last few months with the manufacturers, sir, of plastic bags, the manufacturers, this has nothing now to do with importers, these are local manufacturers, local business, sir, who employ Barbadians. We had conversations over the last few months, sir, and we encouraged them to move toward an organic resin that would, when the bag is disposed of, would deteriorate, sir, into an organic state or biodegrade. They said initially that it would be difficult and that perhaps they would not be able to do it. That their factories, sir, were not constructed or built with a view to using this organic resin, and it would perhaps put them out of business. But that over the last few months, sir, they made a lot of effort, sir, to be able to retrofit their factories, to be able to make these plastic bags, sir, from an organic resin. We met with them in November. January 1st was to be the ban date on manufacture. We met with them in November. The 3 major manufacturers of plastic bags, sir, the same ones who said that they could not do it, have all now brought their factories and their production processes to a stage, sir, where they are able to manufacture plastic bags in Barbados from an organic resin. What that has done, and by the resin I mean the base by which the plastic bag is made, what that has done, sir, is that has put Barbados in a position now where Barbados is ahead of the rest of the other Caribbean countries. In fact, if we stayed the course, we would find ourselves ahead of a lot of the world, because we've now been able to make these plastic bags. So there's 30 bags, they look good, they could carry the weight, sir, and they're not going to contribute, sir, to that which we are trying to solve, which is the pollution, sir, of our ocean space in the long run. Indeed, sir, I would suggest that these manufacturers really supply. And to get it, it takes about 4 months after you order it to get it to Barbados. So we are giving them the opportunity, sir, to get the bags. And in the meantime, allow them to continue to produce. But on March 31, 2020, come the 1st of April 2020, no such bags from a petroleum base will be allowed to be made in Barbados. But sir, this whole conversation, whether it is the returnable containers Act, the amendment that we are making, sir, or whether it is the amendment that we are now making to the Control of Disposable Plastics Act, sir, this whole conversation really is a climate change conversation. It is about Barbados, sir, doing what it has to do, sir, to lead the narrative on climate change, as I believe small island developing states must, as I believe that the Caribbean must, and as I believe that Barbados must. It is about repositioning ourselves, sir. But it is also, in my mind, a conversation about governance, so that we take charge of our own domestic affairs, even within the climate change conversation. Sir, I heard the opposition leader speak earlier about our parliamentary mandate being driven by the international environment, which is not really true. It is about us taking charge of our affairs in an international environment that is changing. The international environment is changing, but we have to take charge of our own domestic affairs, even as we seek to be international players. And so how do we wish to manage our affairs? How does Barbados wish to be perceived on the international stage as a nation? I would not, sir, be truthful to myself if I were to suggest that these challenges are less than formidable. We are dealing with really complex issues, all of us, sir. But what must be our response to this reality, sir, that we face? It is not going to change if we cower, if we bury our heads in the sand. Tomorrow, sir, the world is not going to wake up and say, well, Barbados has buried its beautiful head in the sand, and therefore we would allow them to continue to make petroleum bags. Sir, we cannot say that come September next year, when the hurricanes are raging, sir, and that those of us who live in the Caribbean find ourselves being battered and bruised, that if we determine that we ain't doing anything, that the storm's going to miss Barbados. All of us, sir, must play our part. And when we go on the international stage, we say to the world, look, we have done nothing to cause this climate change, but we are doing everything in our power to prevent it. And that, sir, is what leadership looks like. And the reality is, sir, Barbados, unfortunately, in the last 10 years, did not have this conversation with the people. So it seems as if the government of the day is coming into office and doing all of these things in a hurry. But these are things that had been happening across the world. So for the last 10 years, it is unfortunate that in the last 10 years, climate change did not become a major part of the Barbadian conversation, so that it could become a major part of the Barbadian understanding. And that we now are leading this conversation. Sir, we found ourselves when we were having this conversation behind Antigua, St. Lucia, St. Vincent. I mean, we were behind everybody, Grenada, the Bahamas. Barbados came into the conversation at the back end. And, sir, we are doing what we have to do, sir, because we are unquestionably saying that the climate realities and our response to it, sir, is a priority for the government. But of course, sir, I, as minister, and all of us as members of the government, we have to be aware as to what that means for the people. And, I mean, my slogan, and it's still the principle by which I live, is that people over politics, always. It is always going to be the case. So what does this mean for us, sir? Sir, all over the world, not only here, all over the world, when you're talking about energy transformation, when you're talking about changes in manufacturing, changes in agriculture, the Honourable Member for St. Philip South will know what I mean, and forestry. So, sir, these industries employ millions of people in their existing traditional state. So every time we talk about making changes to it, you are potentially talking about affecting the lives of millions of people. In Barbados, there are In Barbados, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are involved in agriculture, who are involved in fisheries, sir. And when we talk about these things, sir, we are talking really and truly about affecting their lives. But, sir, at the end of the day, there is now a new idea, sir, that the transition must be a just transition. That when we move from one reality to this new reality, that it must be a just transition. And what is happening across the world is that trade unions are saying, as the world changes, as the world evolves, there are consequences for people, there are consequences for labor. The Honourable Member for St. Peter understands there are going to be consequences for labor. So the trade union movement is arguing that there has now to be a just transition. We are saying, sir, that there has to be a just transition. We understand, sir, that even as we build out our new economy, sir, whether it be in the digital space, sir, whether we innovate in agriculture, sir, that there has, whether we do it in the creative economy, there has to be a just transition so that we take care of the people who, sir, will be on the front line of the adjustment. And therefore, sir, anything that we seek to do will only make sense, it will only be sustainable if it is done in a balanced way. So when we came and we said, sir, that the manufacturers of plastic bags have retrofitted all of their factories, are now leading the regional conversation on the manufacture of plastic bags from an organic resin. When I say to you, sir, that there are hundreds of people in Barbados employed in the sector, and that they need a few more months to fine-tweak where they are, so that they are in a position, sir, to lead the way. Give them 3 more months while they will keep all the people employed so they don't have to send home anybody. In the meantime, sir, they get the resin, sir, so that they could make the new and improved plastic bag. Sir, we are doing this in a balanced way, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And so, therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this is what a just transformation is, but what, at the end of the day, must be Barbados' climate change policy. Sir, it would be a crying shame, I think, if at the end of all of this, sir, that we do not recognize the need for Barbados to innovate itself out of these challenges, to develop homegrown indigenous responses, sir, to deal with these challenges that we are facing, to not have to rely on the international environment, sir, to give us some kind of recipe to the situation we are in, sir, to create for us a cure that we can develop in-house in Barbados, an indigenous response, sir, that will lead the way in much the same way that these manufacturers are now developing plastic bags, sir, built from an organic resin, sir, that will be, when tested, sir, the pride of our country. Because the rest of the region, sir, has not yet been able to do it as effectively as we have been able to do it. And, sir, at the end of the day, too, we also have to need to have active labor policies, sir, that encourage, when we are making these changes, it encourages, sir, the private sector personnel, even the government, sir, to take care of the people who may find themselves wounded as a result. Sir, I would not be satisfied if, at the end of the day, we've been able to create a new plastic bag, sir, and we've sent home a whole set of people unnecessarily. I would not be satisfied if, sir, in our energy revolution, sir, as we move toward renewable energy, sir, we've increased energy poverty because less people have access to energy, or because less people are able to plug in, sir, and be able to generate revenue from the energy revolution, sir. I would not be satisfied. And therefore, sir, what we are seeking to do is it to be a just government involved in a just transition. But people, sir, you know, no matter what you do, people have to be able to trust their government. So that even if you have the best policies, sir, and people don't trust the government, they will not believe that the policies are just. Even if you attempt, sir, to revolutionize your economic space, sir, and people do not trust the government that is doing it, sir, they will not believe, sir, that it's going to be good ends. If you tax people, sir, and they don't think the taxes are going towards something that will be in their interest, sir, they will not trust the government. We have sought, first of all, to be the kind of government that the people can trust. And when we say we are going to do something, we explain to the people why it is that we are doing it. We engage in the dialogue necessary, sir, to bring people into an understanding. And if the circumstances around us change, we are mature enough to come and say, look, having spoken to the people over the last year, although I must tell you, when we implemented the ban on plastics on April 1st, 2019, on the containers, it was the persons who import the containers who gave me the date. I did not invent the date. When we started this conversation in September, they said, Minister, if you give me 6 months, I can get rid of all of my old stock. So when you're going to do this ban, we support a ban on plastics on April 1st, 2019. But by April 1st, 2019, sir, they had not gotten rid of the stock, so they asked for 3 more months. It was the manufacturers, sir, of the plastic bags who said to me and to the ministry, Minister, give us a year. If you give us a year, we will in that year endeavor to retrofit our factories, to do the necessary research so that we could create the necessary science, to be in a position, sir, to create those bags for you in a year. So it was the manufacturers who said to ban the plastic bags on January 1st, 2020. So that we came here informed by the persons who are directly involved in the entire space. And having spoken to them again, sir, and they said they need a little bit more time, we gave them 3 more months. But that this is the first extension on plastic bags, sir, but that I believe it will put Barbados in a position where we are leading the world, sir. And the question is obviously that the government is competent. Everything that we've done has shown that we are competent. But, sir, we also are equally determined to show that we are just in all that we do, sir. So we are competent and we are just. So that as part of this just transition, sir, having spoken to the people who are involved in the industry, sir, we made the amendment. And, sir, at the end of the day, effective implementation is going to be necessary. We have to make sure, sir, that when we say that there is a ban, that there is a ban. When we say that we're going to encourage the private sector to be able to generate the kind of knowledge and know-how, sir, to be able to lead the world, so we give them the necessary support. And, sir, when we say, for example, that you shouldn't be throwing boxes and plastic bags, first of all, you shouldn't be throwing them nowhere. But when you see people throwing them through windows, when you're driving behind cars, when you see people in the public transportation, in which it happens frequently, throwing their bags through the ZR and the minibus and the government bus windows, sir, you know something is wrong. There is nothing that we can do, sir, to stop people from doing that kind of thing. Sir, we could put it into law, but you're a grown person. You must know that throwing a bag through a window is wrong. So what do we have to do? Because we've been talking to you about it, sir, we're going to make sure, and the Prime Minister spoke about it over the weekend, you have to take care of the space that is yours, or you will face some stiffer fines. We are saying, sir, we're going to increase the penalty, sir, when it comes to persons who are doing things that they should not do. And, sir, there's a whole series of amendments to be brought here next year in relation to this, sir, because grown adults, it's unfortunate that we've reached a stage now where you must put almost everything into legislation so that you can get grown adults, sir. Littering is wrong. Do not throw your cups and your plates and stuff through the window. Do not leave them in the park after your picnic. I have seen pictures of persons dropping the biodegradable cups, sir, in the park. The thing is that once you leave it, eventually it will go back into a natural state, sir, and it will not hurt the environment. But for the months that it stays there, sir, it is unsightly. And if the rains come when it is there, sir, it will still block the drains. So that we need not only legislative change, we need behavioral change. And that is the conversation we need to have, sir, with our constituents wherever we are. We need to have it, sir, in the political space. The opposition leader also has to have it, sir, with his people, so that all of us in this parliament, sir, lead this process about behavioral change. And none of us want to see an unsightly Barbados, I'm pretty sure. He said what? Mr. Speaker, sir. Sir, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. All of us, sir, have a role to play in making sure that Barbados remains clean, that Barbados remains beautiful. But, sir, for me, this transition really is about Barbados becoming innovative and being an indigenous kind of creator, sir, where we drive home-based solutions. I would be happy, sir, when I see people making things from the sargassum seaweed. As it stands, sir, we have people making soap. Some persons are making fertilizer. Others are creating energy from it. I want to see more of that. I saw an article, sir, this weekend that a St. Lucian company that makes fertilizer is likely to make X amount of money, sir, from the fertilizer made from sargassum. But I know that the science in our seaweed fertilizer in Barbados is fantastic, and that there's no reason, sir, why we couldn't be making the same amount of money, why we couldn't have those homegrown solutions, sir, and selling it to the world. But, sir, we are constantly in conversation with the private sector. And, sir, if it is, sir, that we must come here, sir, to get a sustainable solution, We must continue this dialogue, sir. And if the persons involved say to me, sir, legitimately, because I know, sir, that they have done so much in the last year to be able to retrofit their factories and to do the necessary, if they say legitimately, just give me a little bit more time, sir, I am going to do it. And some people may say, sir, that, you don't look stern, you make you look foolish. Well, sir, let me look foolish if it helps Barbados to act wise. Because Barbados must remain, sir, a country that punches above its weight. A country, sir, that believes in its own people. And I have seen enough transformation and enough development, sir, from the manufacturers themselves, sir, to believe, sir, that we are on the right course. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let us be very clear that all of us, sir, who came into this place, sir, we came to take Barbados from one place to the next. We came to move a whole country forward, sir. All of us, sir, working. There is hardly a single public servant in Barbados, in any of the ministries, sir, of this government. Hardly a public servant that would say to you that this government is not working very, very, very hard, manifested in the fact that they are working very, very, very hard. In fact, the public servants will tell you that last December and this December are Decembers unknown to the public service. Because, sir, we are working in December, sir, as if it is a normal month for all of us, because for all of us, sir, it is a normal month, as is Saturday, as is Sunday, because we are working all the time. All of us came in here, sir, to make that transition, to be able to take Barbados from one place to the next. And I've seen conversations, sir, I've seen people post, look how the private sector now own Minister Humphrey. Look how the private sector make the minister change the date. Sir, that date was changed because I believe, sir, in my heart, that if I give them the necessary time, sir, it would reduce the hurt that the workers would have to feel being not able to receive a salary for 3 months. It would also, sir, give them a chance to perfect what they're doing, sir, and at the end of the 3 months, sir, they will be in a position to lead the Caribbean. That is why we, as a cabinet, because I can't give nobody no 3 months, that is why the cabinet of Barbados agreed to give them 3 months. But nobody in the private sector own me. I am not on anybody's leash to be walked through the suburbs of my political and economic aspirations.
Suburbs of aspirations.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I feel that when we have these conversations, sir, the only reason that I brought that paper to cabinet, sir, was so that all of us, sir, could have a mature conversation and, sir, to pay homage to the fact that the manufacturers have done so well. They have done extremely and exceedingly well, sir. And we have to tie this in, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to what the Honourable Member for St. Michael East is doing. When we came, sir, the Returnable Containers Act only spoke to beverage containers. Well, that's what it said. It said in the act, sir, beverage containers. In fact, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that would have limited us entirely. And we have now amended the act to include a separate sealed glass, metal, aluminum, steel or plastic bottle, can, jar, carton, or other receptacle, which may consist of other materials that are recyclable or reusable. So that the overall plan of the government, sir, all tied together when you look at it, sir, I believe these are like little pieces of art, sir, that when it come together. Have you ever seen, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, sometimes when these new age artists are painting, you see this kind of very abstract thing and you can't figure it out until they apply the finishing touches, and then you can't believe, sir, the beauty that is before you. When you see the pieces that we are all putting together, the Honourable Minister of Energy, sir, what he's doing, what agriculture is doing, what the Honourable Member for St. Michael East and Environment is doing, and I dare say what the Honourable Member for St. Michael South is doing too. But when we put this all together, sir, and you see what we are doing to transform the environment, Barbados will be cleaner than it has ever been. Barbados will be producing more indigenous material than it ever has. We will have more people, sir, involved in the sector than we've ever done. We will have a new and transformed Barbados, sir, committed to renewable energy, sir, doing our part to reduce the damage that has been done to the climate, sir, and advancing an argument to make Barbados the greenest, bluest country in the region. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Yeah. That is the direction in which we are going, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So I have no issue, sir, granting an extension that was asked of me by the manufacturer, sir, because it allows them to do what they have to do. But I do see the big picture. And I do know that unless we engage in a just transition, that there will be a significant amount of hurt, sir, that we will not be able to overcome. That there will be a number of people, sir, who are unnecessarily and without any real reason, sir, dislocated or hurt, sir, when a sensitive, caring government just needed to give them a little bit more time. And, sir, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I believe, I do, that Barbados can go back easily to being the #1 country in the Caribbean in terms of how clean we are. You know, people now compare Barbados to the other countries. Have you been to St. Lucia, they say? Have you seen St. Lucia? Have you seen the streets now, even in St. Vincent? Somebody went to Guyana, and they told me when they were by the bridge, what do you call it, seawall, that once upon a time when they looked over the seawall, it was so nice, now the seawall is not. And they were making the comparison to town, Bridgetown. Have you seen Cuba? So people are comparing Barbados to other countries, sir. So as part of our tourism product, we know that Barbados has to be the cleanest country in the world. As part of who we are, though, beyond trying to service somebody else, because we are being true to who we are as a people, sir, Barbados has to be the cleanest country in the world. Because we all grew up understanding the basic concept that cleanliness is next to godliness. And we have always been a God-fearing society. The honourable member for St. James Central understands what I mean. I meant St. James Central, sir. But, sir, I want to be part of the process, sir, that gives our people the edge. I want to be part of the process, sir, that gives our people the advantage, sir, in terms of how we engage the world. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I have a situation, as you know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with the sargassum seaweed. It is, for me, sir, every March or so when it really intensifies, sir. It is one of those things, you clean a beach today, by tomorrow, the beach is again loaded with sargassum seaweed. That has to become part of our circular economy. In as much as we do it with plastics, we have to be able to do it with the sargassum. That is why I feel, sir, when the Honourable Member for St. Michael East speaks to us about separating the garbage, we have to find a way, sir, to properly separate our garbage so that we can have that which is organic going one place and that, sir, which is not going another place. And all those organic materials, including the same sargassum, would then be able to be used for something else. I have seen, sir, a Barbadian student in New Zealand with my own 2 eyes, as part of his university project, sir, taking sargassum seaweed and making biomethane gas. He tells me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that with the right support and resources and with the opportunity to test it in Barbados, and we're bringing them back here to test it, they would be able to take all of the sargassum seaweed that comes to this country and use it to make biomethane gas. And that they could take all of the organic waste and use that also to make biomethane gas, which will be a very clean gas. That, sir, is the direction of the country, sir. It is unfortunate that perhaps the conversation is always about what we have banned. We've banned this and we've banned that, sir. The conversation perhaps should really be about the innovation that we are stimulating in the minds and the hands and the arts of Barbadians, sir. It is about the creative economy. How we are being able, sir, now to stimulate new ideas and new growth and do new things and amazing things, sir. And that Barbados, you know, we saw the speech the Prime Minister made when she was at the UN. All of us saw it. We know that for all of us, sir, it is only a matter of God's grace that Barbados, sir, did not suffer the consequences of a Category 5 hurricane for 48 hours, and that none of us will be able to withstand it. So when we talk about how Barbados must look, it's not only about Barbados being clean, sir. It is about how we build, so that when this conversation must be about climate change. I will close, sir, as I end. This conversation must really, as I began, this conversation, sir, must really be about climate change. And it must really be about governance. It must be about climate change, sir, and it must be about governance. What do we need to do, sir, to position Barbados, sir, to be able to deal with the ravages of the new and what can be expected to be, sir, the hurricane season? And how do we, as part of our governance processes, bring as many people to the table so that when it does happen, sir, we are able to respond, so that less people are negatively affected by it, so that most Barbadians feel part of the process. I am actually very encouraged, I must say, that the comments in the last few days on the article that suggested, sir, that we were going to extend for 3 months, the persons were saying, Minister, how much more extensions you giving? Like, I feel as if the government has done more than enough, so that the average Barbadian now feels that the government has been fair to the persons who are involved in the sector. The average Barbadian does not feel anymore, sir, that the government came, sir, with this idea and tried to, as some may have thought in the initial stages. They now understand that we gave more than enough time. And the comments were actually saying, how much time you intend to give to these persons? They actually came to the side of the government and are saying, well, they don't give them more extensions. But the extension that we gave, I must say again, this is the first extension that we are giving to the manufacturers of the plastic bags. There was none before. This is the first. To allow those manufacturers, sir, to do what they have to do, sir, to be able to generate and create a bio-based plastic bag using an organic resin, sir, that when it is left in the environment, sir, will return to a natural state, therefore causing the environment no injury. That is what this is about, sir. And so we've worked with them. I commend them. Over the next few months, sir, we're going to be intensifying our PR. I wanted to do it in December, but they advised me.
Remember, you have 3 more minutes.
Thank you, sir. They told me, sir, that it is Christmas and therefore to intensify the PR might not be the best. So I'm hopeful that the media carry some of what I say and the supporting comments from the Honourable Member for St. Michael West when he speaks. But that we are doing enough, sir, I think, to have brought Barbadians to that understanding actually made me feel good, although they were saying of me, why are you giving another extension? So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this is where we are as a country. The idea must be, sir, that Barbados has a just transition. We need to have a coherent strategy, sir, a coherent industrial strategy, sir, that supports sustainability. I've been working, sir, in the ministry with a number of young people who are doing amazing things, people who are making plastics from the skins of vegetables. Fascinating. We've been working with the persons who've been making the soap from the sargassum seaweed. Again, very fascinating, sir. We've been working with our international partners, the UNDP, the IADB, FAO, sir, to stimulate the growth in the blue sector. All very satisfying things, sir, for a minister, sir, whose only intention is to see Barbados innovate itself out of the rut that Barbados is in. That is it. And that if we are able to do that, sir, if we are able to commit, sir, our resources to helping young people to lead this development, because the truth of the matter is, sir, as I close, the truth of the matter is, sir, it is really the young people in this country who will take this country forward. It is really their ideas, sir, that perhaps we are too old sometimes to grasp, that will make the difference in this country. It is those young people, sir, that the Honourable Member, the Honourable Minister of Youth, sir, that he's always trying to serve, sir. It is those young people who will change the country. I support this bill, sir. I support this bill. I support the bill as it relates to the returnable containers. Imagine, as I close, that we've now expanded the list of returnable containers. What that means is that all those laundry bottles that you see on the street, coffee bottles, all those plastic bottles that you see knocking around, you can now get a little something for. So you are less likely to see those bottles on the street because you are more likely to get something for them. Again, generating revenue for other people, sir. I commend the Honourable Member for St. Michael East, sir, and I wish to close by saying I absolutely support the bills before the House. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Member for St. Michael West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I, too, would wish to join the debate and to support the amendment before this honourable chamber, sir. The Returnable Containers Act, sir, Mr. Speaker, as outlined by the honourable member for St. Michael East, I think will go a long way in terms of helping to preserve our environment. Sir, but before I go there, I think it would be incumbent upon me to also congratulate the member for St. Michael East, the honourable member who has responsibility for the environment, for his pronouncements in respect of the importation and delivery of additional sanitation service authority trucks, sir. Mr. Speaker, this is something that caused some area of concern in Barbados. And I am happy that the minister, and he's worked very hard to ensure that the garbage trucks were delivered on time, and he's announced the phased delivery today. So I want to congratulate him for that mission, and certainly those trucks will bring additional ease to the constituents of St. Michael West Central. Mr. Speaker, the issue of recycling is a matter that I would consider great potential for Barbados, not only for the country, but also for the preservation of the environment, and I would dare say profitability of businesses. Recycling is a source of much needed foreign exchange earnings in this country, and I think few people understand that point. I happen to be in a certain place, and I understood it well. Not only that, it saves a considerable amount of foreign exchange being deployed. For example, when you have to import bottles if you are a rum producer, using that as an example. So I believe that the efforts as announced by the government will continue to assist in the preservation of our environment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I not so long had an opportunity to visit a recycling plant. And when I visited that plant, I was amused to see how a business could, in the recycling sector, could process as many bottles, both glass and plastic, at a rate, sir, that would boggle the mind. Mr. Speaker, when I saw the stages of the process of recycling, and then the next phase, that is to export it, sir, I said to myself, well, this will certainly help not only to clean up Barbados, but certainly will help us to maintain an environment and also earn valuable foreign exchange. And I don't know how many other members may have done such visits. I'm sure they have, but I would recommend that they do so, because the process was one, like I said, was mind-boggling, but also it said a lot. Take, for example, Mr. Speaker, the issue of glass bottles, especially those involved in rum production. You have a situation where there's a lot of equipment out there that through the incentives, and part of what we are debating here is in the Returnable Containers Act will be an incentive for people to return those bottles, glass bottles, and put them through a cleansing and a process that would then allow those bottles to be returned to the manufacturer. So take, for example, you have a few rum manufacturers on the island, producers on the island, and those producers, instead of having to take valuable foreign exchange and expend on on purchasing additional bottles from outside of Barbados, because we don't manufacture them here, it now gives those manufacturers an opportunity to recycle those bottles into rum production, saving not only themselves some expenses, but also saving the country some valuable foreign exchange. I would also compliment the minister on the expanded list, because, for example, aluminum cans, Mr. Speaker, and not a lot of people are aware of this, but you know, you should avoid aluminum cans going into the water, because if they get into the water system, they could create problems. The whole issue of motor oil and bottles and Clorox bottles and water bottles that we have littering the environment, Mr. Speaker, those things will go a long way in terms of preserving Barbados and our country. Mr. Speaker, the other issue as well relates to the recycling, and there's great potential for employment in this sector. Again, having visited the plant, I saw the number of persons who were involved at a very small scale, but when I saw the numbers involved, those who work directly and those who work indirectly, it has created a lot of employment, especially, Mr. Speaker, for the small man. I also believe, sir, that when you look at the equipment utilized in this sector, I think, for example, the time has come, really, for us to consider duty-free concessions for recycling plants in Barbados. They have a lot to offer. They do a lot of work. And when you see the equipment and the cost of equipment employed to preserve our environment, I think this is one of the areas that we should add to a list of duty-free concessions. I honestly believe it. We have duty-free concessions in other sectors, tourism and elsewhere. But for an environment where we're talking about the preservation and protection of the environment, I believe that the time has come to really look at a mechanism, a duty-free framework, to establish concessions so that these persons who are in this business could be incentivized to purchase more equipment to assist in the shredding and the recycling of plastics and glass to allow us, or to help us, I should say, clean up Barbados. Mr. Speaker, this would in no small measure ease a lot of pressure on the Sanitation Services Authority. I heard the Honourable Member for St. Michael East making reference to it, that if you transform waste, it would ease, it would take some of the pressure off the Sanitation Services Authority. But I also think it would take us additional steps forward, because in transforming waste, in an environment where people have concessions, duty-free concessions, and when I say duty-free concessions, Mr. Speaker, I am referring not only to the equipment used within the plant, but also vehicular equipment that could be used to help us in terms of transporting waste across Barbados to recycling plants in order for waste to be exported to Barbados. So, Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to delay the House unduly, but I felt I had a sense of responsibility, since we are always engaged in talking about the environment. We're talking about the preservation of the environment. We're speaking to employment opportunities, and to say that I honestly think that the government, if it's not already done so in its planning, consider special incentives to be given to this sector for us to move forward in a very positive and a meaningful way. I salute every effort to clean up Barbados. In St. Michael West Central, we had started a cleanup campaign. We started, for example, where we had on weekends a recycling program going on, where we would collect old stove, refrigerators, appliances, etc. And we did that on the weekends early in the day to ensure that we help to clean up our environment. And therefore, I think we should go another step and incentivize not only the small man, but to incentivize these companies to provide similar services within our constituencies to help us maintain and clean up our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, on that note, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, on that note, I'm obliged.
All right. Member for St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I really do intend to make a very brief contribution to this debate, but I do so because I think that there's an element of the debate that has been just touched on by my friend who just took his seat, the Honourable Member for St. Michael
West Central.
West Central. And it needs to be elaborated on. When I sat on the other side, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the House, in those dark days of opposition, when perennially one heard debates of this nature being defined in the context of handing the country and its economic fortunes in a wrapped package with a pretty blue bow to the people at Cahill, the question I used to ask back then, sir, is, well, I know obviously what is in it, or what was in it for the government of the day. What was in it? Yeah, what was in it? I knew what was in it for then. But I did not understand, sir, what was in it for the people of Barbados. And that instead of going down that road, why were we not discussing with the people the very important issue of recycling of our waste and doing that recycling, sir, in a mandatory way. I felt then, as I do now, that not only at that time, but also at this time, that part of the difficulty that we have in Barbados is that recycling is seen to be a matter of discretion, and that you leave it to the goodwill of some folks in one part of the country or in some primary school or some other place of learning to try a hand at recycling. Whereas in other parts of the world, we all know that you arrive at a certain town and immediately you are confronted with 3 or 4 different containers in which your cardboard is going to go, your paper is going to go, your vegetable matter is going to go, etc., etc. And that recycling at source is a matter of absolute requirement. There is no contemplation of anybody deviating from that because it is required by law of each and every citizen and person within that municipality or township. And that is done because it allows for the ongoing national process of recycling to make good sense. The honourable member who just took his seat, sir, took us to that vital point of the discussion about which we have thus far remained silent. It is my view that if we are going to do this business of management of our environment sensibly and well, then we have to come to the point where we determine at this level, and perhaps in this place by law, that there has to be a process of recycling, and that process of recycling must touch every Barbadian citizen and every visitor to our shores. I don't leave out the visitors at all because nowadays people are traveling with their conscience and they want to be involved in the cleaning up of the country. They want to know that they are part of a give back to the country. They are very much aware of the carbon footprint that they leave behind, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the role that they can play in helping a small, fragile Caribbean economy such as ours or ecosystem such as ours to become more sustainable. So the visitors, I could almost vouch, say I vouch for that community, sir, as being interested in being a part of this. But, sir, the question really is, why are we not going to that next step? Now, I believe I know the answer. I believe, sir, that I know that the answer lies in an insufficiency of some of the very same equipment that the honourable member spoke to when he led off this debate, because it's all well and good to say you're going to mandate recycling, but you have to have the necessary equipment that can move the different types of things. And what I entered this debate to do, sir, was to urge my friend from St. Michael East in his wrap-up to speak to the country about these matters, because these too form part of government's policy going forward. I want, sir, for those who follow this House to be able to say at the end of this day that there is a material difference between those who now manage and those who managed before, that we are not just bypassing these fundamental issues, but that we are speaking to the issues and that we have good reason for going not only at the pace we're going, but in the direction we're going and in the way in which we're going, sir, with a view towards managing the environment in a more sustainable manner. I don't wish, sir, to trespass on that particular aspect of the discussion, because I think that is something that the minister responsible should be able to speak to. But certainly, it is something that I think the country needs to have the benefit of having sight and hearing of. I am obliged to you, sir.
God bless you. Honourable member for St. Michael East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair. Certainly, the honourable member who spoke just before me, who normally put things in a very logical manner. As I indicated before, for the honourable member from St. Michael's South. These are men with fine acumen, and they always apply themselves to answering questions that are never outside of the relevancy of the subject matter. And I am glad that he said that, because it's important that we demonstrate clearly to the general public of Barbados that we are not at the ultimate point of satisfaction with how we are planning to the disposal of waste and the order in which the cleaning and the separation of waste is done. The honourable member who just spoke was correct. The reality is that we first had to treat to the priority of having the amount of trucks to move the waste from the householder to mangrove. Hopefully by next year, we should be in a position to give greater clarity on how we are going to apply the concept of the separation of waste at source. We wouldn't have to wait till it gets to the landfill and have any mechanism up there that separates the waste. But we will separate at source. We have to put out, and I think the Honourable Prime Minister has been sending some signals to the general public of Barbados about cleaning up the entire nation. Obviously, the cleaning up of the waste across the nation is a means of responding to some of the concerns which we have here. Now, if you're going to clean up at source, it means that you have to separate the various types of waste.
Right.
The municipal waste is there. At present, we are in the habit, and sir, when you were acting in a different role in this House of Assembly, you said you do not legislate a culture.
Right.
It's not anything that you change easily. And sometimes when we are accustomed
Right.
to certain habits,
It's true.
they're not going to change overnight.
They're going to educate them.
But the separation of waste would require that we have the appropriate containers at every house
Right.
across Barbados, and that they will separate the plastics from the balance of the waste.
The renewables from those parts that you don't want.
Where the plastics can be recycled,
Yes.
the plastics can be reused in the circumstances. We have to have a standardized color code
That's right.
on the bins, so that if you send out a truck to collect the waste, the truck don't take up what is in the red container and what is in the yellow container, and when you're done separating at the level of the house, you dump everything in one container to the back of the trucks, because you'll be wasting time. So a level of order is required. But the law can only be applied if the state do what it is supposed to do in preparing itself for to put monetary statutory provisions in place that would coerce persons into responding to the changes that we need. But we cannot wait for the changes to be gradually come into place,
Right.
but we still cannot revolutionize things overnight in a society which is accustomed to a conservative way of life, and in some cases believe that what they are doing is correct and ought to be done so until the coming of the Lord.
Right.
So we have to be careful how we move. We have to make sure if we're going to make
Gradually.
anything a must, the state also honor its part and the duties that are expected of us. That is going to also call for intensive state public education.
True.
We have to talk to the people, especially those who have not had the experiences, sir, of living abroad or traveling abroad in an industrial country, metaphorical, oh Lord, the brain will move. Metropolitan states more development states where you see all of these things happening, where you see people, even the concept of waste to energy, how we can transform or waste, different types of waste to be used for some important purpose other than seeing it as garbage and you should dump it and so on. Those are things you have to start early, encourage the public to pay some attention to it.
Got to.
We said this is workable. And as soon as we do that, we can reduce the amount of waste that is up at the landfill, at Mangrove. We will lighten the burden on the sanitation workers, the sanitation trucks. Obviously, the durability of the trucks will not last much longer, right? And I have great confidence that we have the good management at sanitation, a good board. We have good staff at the sanitation. I personally believe that the Barbadian public also must be sensitized to having great respect for the workers at the sanitation department. They're required now not to only work 8 till 4, which is standard behavior across Barbados, but they're working sometimes after midnight. These workers are out during the period between 2018 and today. I really believe that the Barbadian public did not respond in the manner that I would expect reasonable people to respond to the sanitation workers, right? In the last few months. They came and had to work with 12 broken down vehicles. I mentioned it to the House before. I remember on one occasion they called me and said they had some waste piled up in the area, some area of St. Joseph. And the management sent 3 trucks out in one day to get down to St. Joseph, and the trucks could not get down there. Those were the challenges that's just an example of many of the challenges that the sanitation department had to face during the last thing. If I had added 1, 2, 3 down to 12, it would end up being a half a truck that the sanitation was functioning on. and the Barbadian public expected the workers at the transport board, the mechanics, to do things that they could not do. The mechanics could not get parts. Some of the trucks, the manufacturers of the trucks are now non-existent. And the difficulty that we face then is how to replace these trucks within a short period. We were told that the average time that it would take for a truck to arrive in Barbados was an average between 6 to 8 months, because the trucks were coming out of Japan. And many times when the trucks were coming in, they were coming in from Japan as a chassis and then going up to the United States of America in order to be constructed. On one occasion, they had difficulties. They had difficulties with the tariff arrangements between Japan and the United States. These are sometimes unforeseeable challenges that occurred and that would occur from time to time. And I am not one of those persons that would cry down on the services by the SSA. I know what it is for men to work 8 hours a day. The critics don't even work 2 minutes a day. They loiter in the workplace. And we have people that work 8 hours a day lifting up cans. Every time the truck moves from one house to the next, they got to stop and lift up a big can for 8 hours a day. Sun, rain, storms, these people out there working. Whatever I can do as minister, whatever this government can do, we're going to do the best that we can to ensure not only that the Barbadian public is satisfied, but the people who cause them to be satisfied, which is the sanitation workers, I believe that we should also respect them for the work that they have done. This piece of legislation, this amendment, because as you see, it's an amendment, and therefore the act before, this is just a bill, but the act before also indicated that there were many different types of waste that the schedule in this specific act now refers to. And it talks about glass. So we will not only be looking at plastic alone, but it looks at glass, it looks at aluminum, anything that can be recycled. We try to give an incentive to the public, to small people, to retailers to go back to the wholesalers with these containers and get a piece of change. We allow even the paro, if he could collect a couple of these containers, and he goes back to the suppliers, retailer, or wholesaler, he also can be rewarded with a piece of change to put in his pocket. And this is the way how we have to relate to people. We wish that we had a society where poverty did not exist. We wish that we had a society, but as I always say, we are not in utopia. We are in the real world. And wherever we can put in place the social adjustments that can apply to helping the most vulnerable in the society, we will continue to make those adjustments. Sir, I believe that I have given as much clarity to give the justification for the request to this Honourable House. I'm calling for the support for this bill, and I hope that this bill will be able to translate itself into an act as early as possible. So, on that, sir, I beg to move that you do know. No, I beg to move that the bill be read
A second time.
a second time.
Can we have a second, please? Right. The question is that this bill be read a second time. All in favor, please say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
I beg to move that you do not leave the chair and this House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that I do not leave the chair. Seconded? The seconded. The question is that I do not leave the chair and this House resolve itself in committee for the further consideration of this bill. All members in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
House is in committee.
Clause 1.
I beg to move that clause 1 stand par.
The question is that clause 1 stand part. All members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I beg to move that clause 2 stand par.
Question is that clause 2 stand part. All honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I beg to move that clause 3 stand par.
The question is that clause 3 stand part. All honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Clause 4.
beg to move that clause 4 stand part.
The question is that clause 4 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Schedule.
I beg to move that the schedule to the bill. The schedule be the schedule to the bill.
Question is that the schedule to the bill. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
I beg to move that you do now report to the Honourable, to His Honour, the Speaker, for the passing of one
Deputy
bill
Speaker.
in committee. The Deputy Speaker of one bill in committee.
Mr. Stand, sir.
Sorry. I beg to move that you do now report to His Honour, the Speaker,
The Deputy Speaker.
Deputy Speaker, the passing of one bill in committee.
The question is that I do now report to His Honour, the Deputy Speaker, the passing of one bill in committee. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Yeah.
The chairman of the committees have reported to me the passing of one bill in committee.
I beg that this bill be read the third time.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All members in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
I beg the passing and citing. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read, be now passed as cited as the Returnable Container Act 2019.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this bill is passed and so cited. All members in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. This bill is now passed and so cited.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the act may be cited as the Returnable Container Amendment Act 2019.
Yeah. Can we have a second for that there?
Beg to second that, sir.
Right. The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. This bill is now passed and so cited. There's a third one.
Order number 13, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister of the Environment and National Beautification, to move the second reading, Control of Disposable Plastics Amendment Bill 2019.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read the second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg that you do now leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that I do not leave the chair and this House resolve itself in committee on this bill. All members in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
This House is in committee.
Are you calling?
Clause 1.
I beg to move that Clause 1 stand part.
Beg to second that, sir.
That Clause 1 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I beg to move that Clause 2 stand part.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that Clause 2 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I beg to move that Clause 3 stand part.
Beg to second that, sir.
The question is that Clause 3 stand part. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
I beg to move that you do now report to the Honourable Deputy Speaker the passing of one bill in committee.
I beg to second that, sir.
The question is that I do now report to His Honour the Deputy Speaker the passing of one bill in committee. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it.
The chairman of committees has reported the passing of one bill in committee.
That this bill be read the third time.
I beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All members in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the Control of Disposable Plastic Amendment Act 2019.
I beg to second that, sir.
The question is that this bill be now passed and be so cited. All members in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. This bill is now passed and so cited.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, revert to papers.
Papers. Member for St. Michael's South Central.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am commanded to lay the Government of Barbados Inter-American Development Bank Loan 4342 OCBA National Tourism Program amended to recontract.
And pledge. Member for the City of Bridgetown.
Be suspended until 4:30 p.m.
The question is that this House be no, so you want to second it, please? Second it. The question is that this House be now suspended until 4:30 today. All members in favour say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. This House is now suspended until 4:30 this afternoon.
Waiting on papers.